Then I say hello to everybody. Um, so I'm Peter, Peter Beck, and I'm the co-founder of the Scrum team. And I found, together with Andreas, which is also here, the Scrum team 15 years ago. I'm also a Scrum trainer from Germany. And I'm here to talk together with Andrea about the project to product with Scrum Playbook. Um, uh, and before we start, I just like to hand over to Andreas. Maybe you want to introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, well, we've been around for a while. So we started with Scrum about 20 years ago when we worked in a software development organization of a web portal. And ever since then, we came across the situation that we had kind of organizations working in project thinking, traditional project thinking, and tried to kind of bring this over to the product development thinking. So, yeah, we're going to explore this a little more, and I'm very curious about what we find out today.
Yeah. We don't like just to talk, so we really like to work with you guys. Um, and we have a Miro board prepared, what we show here. Um, you can access this Miro board by here's the QR code or the link. We also will post the link into the chat here, so you can easily get connected. But you don't need actually to go to the Miro board. Um, so these playbook, what we are presenting actually is for decision makers and making decision for their projects in the organization, whatever the decision makers are. Mostly these people starting or ending a project, and especially for project-centric organizations. So when you have project in your organization, you might be here on the right place, and most organizations have projects. You find the whole picture here. We go through these steps in that playbook, um, mostly to these major steps here. And when we go through it, you also get a chance to work with it and use this playbook for your own project in your organization. This is our goal. If you have questions in the meantime, please really write down your questions in the chat. We have very nice help here, translators, which helping us to understand these questions, and hopefully, and we have also time in between when we go through our agenda to answer your questions. Okay, so let's start. We have just 45 minutes. And before we dive into that playbook, let's first talk about what is a product and a project anyway. So have a better understanding of that. So most people think about products when we tell them products. So they answer a product is something which is gain value for customers, or a product is something physical, what we can touch, maybe something a customer is paying. But when we look to the definition of the word product, it is rather simple actually. So a product is the result of work. So if you have creative results in your company, and for customers, for example, so the product is all the result what you are creating. So for example, in our company, the Scrum team, our result is the training and education services for people becoming better in doing Scrum. And this integrates, of course, um, services which are manual labor. Like, for example, when you go to our webpage, you find a contact form, and you can give us a call and get a person and helping you to figuring out what is the best training for you. But we also have a training management system, and you can prepare yourself for a training class in a video training, which is an automated service. And we have, of course, developed this service, which is in product development. But actually, the customer is not gaining the direct result of that product development, actually gaining the direct result from our outstanding services. So we see here a definition which is rather broad for product. So all the result what we are creating in is a product, or is part of our product, if we use that definition here. In contrast, so projects are not so far away from the definition of product, but if we look to the definition of a project, we see here the definition of the PMI Institute. A project is a temporary endeavor or undertaking to create a unique product or service or result. So it is timely constrained. So we give us some time to create a result, which this is what we call a project. So why is that important? Why is this different sometimes in how we deal with it? I use this graph here to explain it a bit deeper. So what we want to have in each organization actually is this blue curve here. I just painted here a little bit bigger, so this S curve. So for example, when we started the Scrum team 15 years ago, we were here much in the beginning, and we were investing time and money to start our business. We don't have any training class online. We can't get any return from our business so far. It just has to spend time and money, of course, to create our first training class. And maybe call that a project right on the beginning when we said, okay, let's give us 4 months. Then we really have our first training class up and running and our first participants in our training class. So we really get some return finally when people go to our training class and get a positive training and have learned something. So we gain value. Most products, of course, most organizations, they are longer in business. So we are now in business for 15 years. And just last year we had, or 2 years ago, I guess, we had a project which was, okay, let's improve our training management system and bring it to a cloud service, which is reducing costs and make our product or results hopefully better, but costs us a lot of time. And of course, we set us a timely constraint. We want to have that in a couple of months done. We can also call that project. So actually, projects are timely constrained investment in your product and services in your organization. So Scrum has also a project thinking part, a timely constrained investment. We call that sprint. These green boxes here, these are actually sprints or projects, means we have a 4-week investment in our product, timely constrained, and we have a series of projects. And since we, the Scrum team, we are working with Scrum, we're not thinking actually in projects, we're thinking in rather small projects, sprints of 4 weeks, which are our investment in our total product. Other organizations have more product-focused investment view, so they don't think in sprints, they think in, okay, larger red investment boxes. Both approaches have their benefits, and we will talk a little bit about how we can use them together. Yeah? So when we look to our playbook here, we are very focused on what is actually our project, what we have at hand at the moment. So when you ask yourself in your organization, so how we should deal with our project, we have to look to that project. And the first question you should ask with your project is, first, of course, what is the potential complexity of your project? One indicator for complexity is, for example, the length of a project. So if you have a rather short project, your project is not so complex. If you have a rather long project, the probability that you have a complex project is rather high. So we have some models to make those decisions. One very popular model is what people learn in Scrum trainings often is this one here, where we can see, okay, how complex is our project? So how high is the uncertainty about what we want to have and the uncertainty about how we do it? There's another model, Kinefin, for example, here, which is also guiding people to figuring out where we are right now in which domain. Based on that, we can make then a decision in our playbook, which means if we have a rather complex project, we might decide, okay, let's bring a new team to that project. Building a project organization based on Scrum and bring that team to that project. If you have a rather small or less complex or simple project, you may like to make the decision, okay, let's bring the project to the team. Means we going this path here and decompose the project into product backlog items and bring it to a team. So we want to have, using that decision right now in the first step, to give you some time to think about your project in your organization and may have a short discussion in pairs in the room here, and of course also in the virtual room. We wrote down some questions here, go through it, use it playbook and the model what I showed you, and have a short discussion of 3 minutes. And you may also like them to write down some questions so we can go through that question and answer them before we go to the next decision point in our playbook. For that, I can create here a breakout session. Where's my? Oh, I'm not the host anymore. Andreas, are you the host? Room B is host right now.
Yeah.
So we have to ask the host of the room B to create a breakout session for us.
Yeah, so we need to improvise.
But yeah, I was a host, but I'm not host anymore. Don't get any feedback from the room. Here.
It's coming.
It's coming.
I think you should have the permission to make the breakout rooms. Am I wrong?
No, I can't. I need to be a host.
Let me see.
I had the permission in the beginning. I was seeing it, but now I lost that permission.
Weird.
No, it's not still not possible for me. You should do that here. You have to do that in room B on your computer. But the people in the room, of course, can already start talking. Just pair up, find another person right next to you, and have a small conversation. 3 minutes max, and yeah, go through the questions here. And for those not on the online part of that session, yeah, you have to have a conversation with yourself. So try to answer these questions for yourself. Maybe make some notes, and you are invited, of course, to raise questions in the chat.
Hi, sorry. How many rooms should we make for you?
So 2 persons each room, random.
Yeah, but you should allow them to come back to the main session just in case we pair up some non-functional constellations.
Anyway, we have just a short session. Yeah.
I think based on the time frame, I
Yeah.
think we should skip the Zoom breakout session for now and try it in the next round.
Yeah, let's give it a try next one. Okay, good. So I'm not sure if in the room people are talking, I think. Do we have any questions here at the moment? What we showed so far? Seems not. I don't see anything in the.
We're fine with the questions. Thank you.
Okay.
So sorry, we're trying to make the breakout rooms, but we only have an iPad, so I'm afraid we may not be able to create it.
Which is fine. We just go on and skip that part with the breakout rooms. So don't care about the breakout rooms anymore at the moment. Seems so, but I'm not sure if there are questions in the room. Maybe you can we can answer them directly, and then let's go to the next step. Seems no questions, so should I continue?
Is there any questions? 質問ある方いらっしゃいますか? Is everybody fine? Yeah, I think everyone's fine for now.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be easier to organize the workshop format here. Okay, so we are here. You may have made a decision on your project if you create an own team for your project because your project is rather big, rather complex, or you decide on okay, let's break it down into smaller pieces and bring it to a team. Of course, then you need to have a Scrum team. If you don't have a Scrum team, of course, you need to think about, okay, how we get a team. And here is the advice, of course, then that you start to think bigger than your project is. If you have a small project and like to decompose it into into breakout items, and of course, so how we get a team, think bigger, think into a bigger context of your project. A typical case for that is, for example, internet a web agency, for example. We see a picture here from an also software web agency, and they have a lot of smaller projects coming directly from the customer. And to handle them, they have a Kanban system and moving these projects from left to right and decompose these projects then into smaller backlog items, and have with the members of the team continuous conversations about how to prioritize these items coming from that projects. Some of these projects are longer than one sprint. They are not really complex. They're just taking a little bit longer because of the customer. They have to wait for the customer for customer decisions. But the teams are really pulling from these backlogs, then which is content from their projects. We see here the board a little bit more in details. Also, in our case of our company, there's the same case. So we don't have actually projects. We call that innovation goals, and these colored items here. And when Andreas, our product owner, is preparing in the refinement with us or with himself, then he is decomposing this project into backlog items and brings that backlog items and then into our backlog, which is this list here. So it's a very straightforward way, of course, to decompose larger goals into backlog items. So for us, the Scrum team, we don't have project, we have innovation goals. For others, they may be called projects. If we look to that case, so we have a fairly big project, we might go this way, and we see here also a Kanban system of projects, which was just created by decision makers, and they were completely unaware how many projects they had in the system. And partly these projects are rather big. They took 2-3 years and millions of euro in investment. And actually, they had project teams also behind them on a different location sometimes. The problem here, of course, is when we see here all the projects which the people were working on, there were too many projects in work at that time. And this caused a problem in the organization. When we have not one project, we have many projects at once. It just block the whole product development because the people don't know on which project they need to work. So the next really important decision on your project should be always, can we really start that project right now? Or do we have already too many projects in our pipeline of projects and we just plug everything in our pipeline? And to figuring out that the organization should start to experiment with a WIP limit on the level of projects. Means to figuring out how many of these larger projects, for example, in this organization, can we really have at once in work? And we didn't know the number right now as we created this Kanban system, but it was pretty obvious that they really needed to reduce their project in work by nearly 80%. This was the first experiment to kill most of these projects here. Same here, even if you have smaller project, in this case, for example, they had a lot of new customer contracts in the pipeline simply because they did very good marketing and sales, and there's great new customer contracts, which is, the CEO was quite happy about that. Anyway, the organization has to deal with it and figuring out how they can continue or create a better flow of these projects. Good. Same here. Maybe you have questions to that step. So we would like to welcome you to raise your questions or give yourself a minute to think about these questions here. So how you deal actually with the WIP limit in your organization at the moment? Do you have more projects in your pipeline that you actually can work on? And what is this causing at the moment? So give you a minute to think about the questions, or 2 minutes, not more, and we'll see if you come up with questions or with another thoughts on that. So, question into the room of in Tokyo. Are there questions by the participants?
Have any questions? Is it fine? Yay, nay, yay? Yeah, it seems to be fine.
Okay. Reading the room is a little bit difficult for us. Then let's go on, I would say. So if you make your decision, okay, we really want to start with that project. In the case of it is fairly big, and you may also make the decision, okay, let's use Scrum as your organization form for your project. So traditionally, when you think about project, you need a project organization. So Scrum could be your project organization. I especially say here could be because in some cases you don't choose Scrum to use as project organization. If your long-term project, for example, building a house, you may choose the other way of organizing your project. In both ways, you need to make a decision. What is the good project organization for that? In many cases, Scrum is a fairly good project organization, and you probably start with creating a dedicated team using Scrum, and of course make this team independent from others from other parts of the organization, so that they really can create their own process, especially for that project to make it done. Seems to be a very simple step, but most organizations have that challenge here, because then they're figuring out, okay, we can't work fully on that project. We can't get the people 100% in a team. And this is very often the case that these organizations simply have too many projects in their pipeline. So they didn't make these decisions before rather well. So and they end up to have then many projects with many teams, and yeah, they don't get a dedicated team, and they really can't use Scrum perfectly for as project organization. Just imagine you did that quite well, and you have a team working couple of time, investing time and money in creating a new product, maybe or working on your existing product, and you're working toward your timely goal. For example, releasing a new training class. As we, for the Scrum team, let's say we want to develop a advanced training program for Japanese students. And we want to have that in March, and we're coming closer to that release of the first training class. We should make a decision on what happened after our first release. What is happening after when our project is done. so the time is over. And unfortunately, many organizations make the decision rather late, often after the project. You should make the decision much earlier, as soon as you get some better data if you like to continue or not. Simply because you don't want to waste your created project organization, what you have created with Scrum. So let's look to that picture here. Say we have this initial project and the red box here. And when you ahead of your delivery date of your project, you gain more information with Scrum, of course, if you really create value. We may figuring out that our initial expected value development curve is not so good as we have expected. We need to invest more money or longer, extend our project. Many people would say that, but still it is positive. So we expect that our return on invest development will be positive in the future, and we want to continue with that. Let's say we're figuring out, okay, we have to postpone our first training class, Japanese training class, to a later point, but we still have the feeling that we continue on that investment and get a running business for that. But maybe we're figuring out, even if we invest more time and money in our endeavor, so it won't be positive development for our product. So yeah, of course, and the advice should be stop it as soon as possible and use that resources in your organization for something which create maybe more value, and yeah, stops that project or initiative. Of course, his later decision stopping something is for many organizations a difficult decision, which brings us to actually one of the next questions here. And this question I really want to do by call out. The question is rather simple. So who actually can, or who is actually stopping in your organization a project? So maybe I can ask into the audience here and give some examples. Someone give some examples. Who is the person in your organization able to stop, or which person maybe is a group of persons able to stop a project in your organization?
So does anyone from the audience have any answers to that? No one?
They don't have projects.
I think, oh, sorry, I'm going to be speaking as a staff here, but I think that in our organization, I don't think anyone has really any idea about the differences between the project and products to begin with.
And we can also ask which person can stop the product in developing.
In our case, I think, oh, okay.
In our project, there's a role called as TDM, which is Technical Delivery Manager.
Yeah,
I think he can take this decision.
Okay. Also, he's rather powerful then, no? Making the decision to stop the project.
He is, yes.
Yeah, okay. Is he also in the C-level ranking, or is he founder, or?
No.
No?
My company is a big organization, so he is just a member of the team, but he has that power to stop the project. I mean, the project itself is a huge, so I can say at least a part of the project he can stop.
Okay, so part of the project, not the whole project.
Yeah, maybe the whole project, maybe we cannot say he can stop.
Okay. Yeah. Other examples, maybe?
Anybody? 日本語でも翻訳するので大丈夫ですよ。Okay.
Okay.
Another person, sorry.
Okay.
Hello, in my organization, the CEO, of course, can stop a project, and she has in the past. Sometimes the initiative owner or the person who started the project asks for money, can stop the project. But if there's too much sunken cost, they invariably don't because it looks bad on them. And sometimes also the other people who can stop a project, the steering committee of the project, if for whatever reason it's too complicated, too expensive, or the opportunity is missed, they can decide collectively to stop the project.
And nice. So this is a group of people, a board or a committee make this decision, or a CEO, what you mentioned there. Most organizations have such kind of decision-making groups. And as you said quite nicely, it looks rather bad on them. This is the tricky part, of course. So investing good money into a bad investment or continuous bad investment looks rather bad on someone making the initial decision to start it anyway. And this causes quite often that we just extend the decision, which is, of course, also not good. But as you said, so there are people in the organization, actually, their job is to make this decision. And this is, for example, someone from the C-level or people around them making this decision, and also to stop a bad investment. In Game 3, which is a framework which should help also Scrum organization making that decision, we simply called those people owner, not product owner, people because they own these investments, and to work together with accountable representatives, which might be your board members, for example, or people really taking this accountability for these investments, looking in regular time boxes, which we called tournaments, to these project and investment, and make also this decision, okay, stop something and start a new one in favor of the overall return of the enterprise. So this is actually a very important step if you go that way, of course, and then you can create, you may go into a scaling part of your project and say, okay, we have created this product organization anyway with that first initiative of this project, and we need to stabilize our organization. We need to invest maybe in architecture that we can scale our product even more. And maybe you also go to use frameworks like LeSS, large-scale Scrum, to continue with that. And then you come to a continuous product development with your initiative of your project. You may also should ask yourself, okay, we have this initiative, this project, should we integrate it into existing product organization? And since we are now have everything in control, the technology in control, the product itself, do we have a bigger organization taking care about the larger project? We need to reorganize and integrate this project organization into our product organization. When we look here to Game 3 in our framework here, this is for such kind of organization rather simple, because teams are continuously reorganizing if necessary in matches or sprints, and of course in a larger cycle, which we call tournament. And instead of having projects, we call, thank you for the 5 minutes left, we call that initiatives or goals, which we have on an enterprise backlog. And for making this decision in our path here, we have, as I mentioned before, dedicated roles helping to making these major decisions on the level of projects, or what we call it innovation goals. Good. So since we have 5 minutes left or 4 minutes left, I would say let's have a last Q&A round before we close that here. And yeah, to the audience here, what questions do you have so far? Until then.
Does anybody have any questions? Maybe from online? Does anyone from the online session have any questions?
I'm not sure if we have another chat with translated questions.
Okay.
So the chat is currently clear, but there's something coming up.
There's one question from the offline.
Hey, thanks for the talk. I have a question regarding the team productivity. Do you have any suggestions to improve or at least continuously monitor and drive some action items for the productivity of the team?
I'm not sure if I understand the question well.
Yeah, I can take it.
Okay.
So the trick is that you actually, when you want to improve the productivity, you have two factors. So one factor that will already improve the productivity is to break down your long-term projects into smaller chunks. So because if you do that, then you have more transparency, and if you limit the WIP at the same time, the productivity will just increase because of the reduction of blocking factors. But of course, you also want to improve the working conditions or the engineering practices or other stuff. So the idea is, if you do this, then you kind of integrate those improvement projects, well, like we used to have, into the overall product backlog of your system. Like you start with one team, then you would put the process improvements in there. So when we started with the Scrum team, with our own company, we had a very small backlog that was mainly focused on being able to sell trainings online, but we had lots of manual processes, and so we added all those things that improved our capabilities to our backlog. So that's the way to go in this scale environment, or in a large-scale Scrum environment, or in a game spree environment. It's just the same. You identify areas of improvement, add them to your backlog, and integrate them into your work.
And I think one big difference between product thinking and project thinking is productivity for your product is actually your outcome. So customer satisfaction, or scaling with customers, for example, have more customers, which paying more for the services. And in projects, we often have the question for productivity, the amount of work, or that we stay in time of the scope, or we deliver all these scope what we initially had in our contract, which is not really always often not a good optimization. So we have a lot of feature maybe done, but not really good results. So this is really different between, which is the advantage of product thinking. Optimize to the real result of the customer. Might be advice.
Yep.
Roman,
so
yeah.
Very tricky question, yeah. So Ron asked about advice about transitioning the funding arrangement from projects to product. So I can make the short start. Most of the time when we try to do this, we sat together with the controllers themselves and the bookkeepers and discussed the various conditions of the way we were working. And they came up with solutions on how to put this into their like governance system or whatever. And there are various solutions around this. So there's not, I don't think there's a standard way. It really depends if you are in a large company. But one of the easier ways would be to make your projects as a kind of a cost container much smaller. So like you have a set of product backlog items, maybe not more than 3 months. And these are the containers that you actually talk about. So you might still call them projects and you still might give them a budget or whatever. But within these containers, you can control the funding and decide on the next steps. So the whole trick is that if you have those, if you split down your initiatives or your large-scale project into those smaller projects, then you will have a far lower initial investment.
Yeah.
So you have an earlier point of time where you can see whether your money is well spent. A bit?
Yeah, and this is actually also a positive part of project and organization. Organization have an often in investment rounds and have a clear thinking in these investment in project and have a language for that. Project portfolio or whatever, use it. But changes the way how you handle this project. But having this clear investment decision and have a clear description what you want to have with that investment. Yeah, don't throw it away, use it just in a different way. Okay, so we're a little bit over time, 3 minutes. We can continue with more questions. We're here. I'm not sure if you like to have that in your for the conference.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we there aren't any questions anymore. So thank you very much for your talk. And thank you everyone for coming to join us. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yep. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Arigatou gozaimasu. We're sorry that we couldn't make the breakout room. We only have an iPad here, so that might be the reason.
This happened. I was wondering that it's working anyway in such virtual way plus translation. And in the beginning, I don't know why I had the post access, but maybe this has changed somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
hi, Ron. Nice to see you.
Yeah, hi, Ron. Thank you for your question.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Interactive part.
Yeah.
We thought we might become a little bit more interactive, but so yeah, thank you for organizing. And Rowan, is there other virtual room where we can then jump in, or
I think after this session, you could use the Discord if you want.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that would be probably the best way.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. And we can also hang around here a little bit, so I don't need to find the other.
Yeah, I just put in my Zoom.
Ich habe so ein schönes Bild von uns beiden.
Yeah, that's nice. So, Ron, if you want to hang out a little, I just sent my chat address. So I just go over to my session, and we don't block the room here.
Yeah. Where do you send the?
Thanks, guys. Yes. Oh, look at that. Cool.
See you.
See you.